Hey everyone, it's Christina Gostinelli. Today is Monday, March 27th, and I actually just did my very first podcast interview. I'll put the information in the description box with the link for where you can check that out. But in the interview, we were talking a little bit about in Jude 1:22, the verse in the Bible, and it says, "Have mercy on those who doubt." And that's been a verse that I've loved for the last year or so. And we talked a little bit about it in the podcast, but I felt like there's just so much more that's on my heart about it. And so I thought, I'll just do a video. Then we'll just do it this way on my YouTube channel. And we will, or I can talk with you a little bit more about that. So the deconstruction movement is kind of a popular trend right now in the Christian circle. So if you don't know what deconstruction is, it's referred to someone who grows up in the church or maybe has a long history in the Christian faith, and then for one reason or another they decide to leave the faith and their faith comes unraveled, and they call that deconstruction. And I went through my own season of deconstruction. It began in June of 2008, although back then that was a little bit before Instagram and Facebook is what it is now, and so it didn't have a popular hashtag to go with it. And so this deconstruction thing, it's not a new thing, but for whatever reason it's just taken off with social media. But that's what it is, and that's what I went through before it had a fancy name. But what's on my heart though is about if you know someone in your life who is going through, they're deconstructing in their Christian faith. I just wanted to give a little bit of just encouragement to maybe somebody who's deconstructing, but also if you are watching a loved one, you're watching a friend or a child or another family member deconstruct. Like if you're watching their faith that you thought once was so strong and you're watching it completely come unraveled and you're just wondering why, like what can I do? How can I help? And I think it might be easy to want to maybe judge someone who's deconstructing because I think perhaps if it's, at least I'll just speak for myself, I probably would have come across a little abrasive and arrogant and prideful, frustrated, angry, all of these things when my faith was when my faith was just completely coming unraveled. And so on the outside, I probably looked very messy and very, maybe people weren't quite sure like what was going on with me and didn't know how to help. But I just want you to know that when somebody is leaving the faith or their faith is coming unraveled, it's such on the surface a symptom of something bigger that is going on so much deeper in their heart. It's not just about leaving the faith because maybe they have a point to prove or it's the popular trending thing to do right now. It's so much deeper than that. There's so much more going on in their heart that you don't know about. And for me, it was a fertility struggle. I talk about that a lot on my blog, on my website, where you can read more about that. But if you didn't know me, if you weren't one of my friends, and if you weren't a close family member, you wouldn't have known that that's what I was dealing with, like that kind of pain and that kind of frustration and disappointment and anger. But it probably looked very messy on the surface. And I can't help but see the parallel here between this and this analogy that I feel like the Lord gave me this morning of, if you've been following along with me on social media, you might know that earlier this year we had quite a project going on in our front yard. We needed to have part of our yard excavated because our main sewer line outside that was running out of the house was having major problems. And when they started digging down, they found more problems. And it just took forever, it seemed, for them to get everything fixed. And in the meantime, we were left with a big mess in the front yard. And I just can't help but see that if you're driving down our street, our yard looked like a mess on the surface. There are piles of dirt and rocks, and when it rained, it all turned to mud. It's a mess. And if you're just driving by or just walking by, like, you would not know why we have the hole. You might assume, oh, they're probably having utility problems, but you wouldn't know the extent of it. You wouldn't know where the problem was and why the hole had to be so big and why the mess had to be as big as it was and why it was taking so long. If you weren't one of the plumbers involved in the project or the homeowner, you wouldn't know why the mess on the surface. But the mess was necessary to dig down to fix the problem. There's just no way around it. And so sometimes deconstruction is messy. I think every time it's messy. And there's just nothing, someone on the outside or the person, the homeowner, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to deal with the mess. And so all this to say that at some point the problem can be fixed. Our problem was fixed. The hole was filled back in. But we're not done yet. Our yard still looks like a mess because we're still waiting for the grass to grow. We still have to rake out a bunch of rocks, and now there's broken glass from things that were buried in our yard 80 years ago. There's still a bunch of cleanup now that needs to happen. And I would say the parallel is even if the Lord works on somebody's heart and is able to fix the problem, things just don't go back to normal right away. Things don't look normal. Things still look messy, even though maybe the root cause of the problem has been fixed, because healing needs to take place. New growth needs to happen. And so with what we're dealing with in our front yard, now our yard needs to heal in a sense. And now we need to plant new grass and we need new roots to grow. And our yard will look better, again, a little more palatable to the people passing by, but right now it's still in progress and it's still in process. And so going back to Jude 1:22, which is the verse, it's just burning on my heart today, is just go easy on those who doubt. Have mercy on those whose faith is wavering, because you don't know. You don't know what is down in their heart that they are digging with the Lord. The Lord's in the hole digging with them. They just don't know it, and they wouldn't acknowledge it anyway, that he was there. But he is. He is there helping. I speak from experience on that one. So if you're deconstructing, keep digging. It's messy, and it's going to be messy, and that's okay. And if you're watching somebody deconstruct, if you're watching their faith just completely come unraveled, the dig might be necessary, and the mess might be necessary. So again, Jude 1:22, have mercy on those who doubt. I hope this encouraged you today. You can leave a comment if you want, or catch me on social media. All of that will be in the description box. But have a good one, friends.